And I guess I want to say first, I'm speaking for Henry Rhodes at this moment and not for anybody from the New Jersey Environmental Justice Alliance, so that people have some type of plausible deniability for the things that I'm going to say. And when we look at what's going on with cumulative impacts and what's going on with EJ, I think about the Inspector General's report on EJ not being integrated fully in the EPA. That there's no standards, that there's no guidelines, that there's no definitions. New Jersey replicates the same thing. No standards, no guidelines, no definitions, and as such, no goals, no objectives, no criterias. As I've grown older in the world, I've become a more skeptical human being, probably since I've been about 4. And so I do wonder whether the lack of guidelines, whether the lack of standards is by mistake or whether it's a kind of willful neglect. Now, it may be that after 17 years, EPA is incapable of coming up with definitions of who's burdened and who's not, of what overburden means and what it doesn't, of what hot spots mean and what they don't. And perhaps New Jersey, after, is it 10, 11 years since the executive order here? Maybe all of these bright and committed people are incapable of coming up with standards and guidelines and criteria. But I doubt it. I in truth believe that the reason that these things are being ducked, and first let me say how they're being ducked. They're being ducked by analysis paralysis. We need to take a study. We need to take another study. We need to take a 3rd, 4th, and 5th study of the method, of the material used. But this, of course, is Dorothy and Oz clicking her heels 3 times, saying there's no place like home, as though somehow or another the information will end up different. I remember when Anna introduced the EJAC report, and I remember asking the question, was anybody in the room surprised on what was demonstrated? Nobody was. People know where the communities are, they know what the overburdenedness is, they know what the problems are, and for the most part, where they're emanating from. This is a moral and ethical cowardice, an unwillingness to deal with issues of race and class and power in New Jersey. And so people duck it. And what we're looking at now is people ducking these issues as people die. On a regular basis, we know who's dying, we know who has cancer, we know whose communities have higher rates of asthma, we know where high blood pressure is. These are just right at the census tracts. We don't need to look for this anymore. And my fear always with this stuff is that what we're gonna get is more tests and more ways to look at the test and more ways to ask the question, because people are asking the question because they don't like the answer. Well, that wasn't the answer we wanted, so let us figure out how to ask it another way. Unfortunately, we have people, and particularly DEP in my mind's eye, that has a fiduciary duty to protect human health and the environment. And I don't see it taking place. I'm still waiting for one single, just one, uno, decision saying that we're not going to do this because of environmental justice reasons. And perhaps afterwards, if somebody has one, or tell the truth, somebody could raise their hand and testify, because I know that there ain't one. But one decision on anything from the state that says, you can't do this because of environmental justice reasons. You can't do this because this community's already overburdened. You can't do this because the people here are sick enough. And it is this continued cowardness this running away from race that I want to say Daniel Patrick Moynihan said to Nixon in 69 or 68. There's a fatigue, benign neglect. At this point, the neglect is not benign. It's far closer to, I don't want to say malicious, but a willful neglect of human health, human beings. And it's a shame on the state, it's a shame on the agencies, and it's shame on people who allow these things to take place. I was recently looking at Martin Luther King and talking about his letter from the Birmingham jail about how good people, by allowing evil to take place, perpetuate it. There's a lot of good people who work in this building, and there's a lot of evil that continues to be perpetuated.